So we start. Emaho, once more, listen to me, beloved sons and daughters who I treasure like my heart. Wrap soft silken clothes around your body and observe the mind that thinks, how soft. Wrapped, coarse, yak, wool, or in our case sheep, sheepskin around your body, and observe the mind that thinks, how coarse. When observing the mind, emptiness is the one taste in both perceptions. Here notice that there are two elements, you might say, if we distinguish. Sense perception, which can be neutral, and then passion, aggression, or ignorance, which is, passion is I like it, aggression is get rid of it, ignorance is I'll space out, I don't want to deal with that. Even if it does have import, that's the trick, kind of like denial. So in this case, he's saying, when let's say you take a drink and it tastes great, another example. Look at that reaction, look at what's your mind do when it tastes great. Look directly into tastes great and see if you can find anything concrete. Now look directly into the mind. Does it have a form? Is it a color? Can you touch it? So basically it's a reaction, it's a thing that emerges in the middle of a space, which is your mental space. And after a few seconds, if you don't muck with it, you don't poke at it, you just see, it kind of disappears. Where does it go? Into the same space. Look at the form of a beautiful statue, or a girl, or a guy, or a great painting, and observe the mind that thinks, how beautiful. Look at the form of a hideous frog, if you don't like frogs, and observe the mind that thinks, how repulsive. When looking at the mind, emptiness is the one taste in both perceptions. In other words, what all these reactions have in common is that they manifest in this space of mind, and it kind of goes like from stillness to movement, kind of back to stillness. If you practice meditation, you learn not to agitate the mind. As Soja Rinpoche says, Chum manyuk matam sem machina de. Just as water, when left alone, becomes clear, because the dirt settles to the bottom, so the mind, when unaltered, becomes quiet, becomes clear. So the same thing we learned in meditation, not to alter the mind, not to feed the chain of thoughts. And when the reaction comes, we allow it to be, we see it directly, which is not mucking with it, and we see that it arises and then perhaps subsides into what? Space of mind. And a thought might come up, an emotion might come up, because obviously we see here that the radiation of mind is not only sensations from the senses, which it is, but like, dislike, emotion. Put something sweet like molasses or honey in your mouth and observe the mind that thinks, how sweet. Then taste something like ginger and look at the mind that thinks, how pungent. Actually, I love ginger on sushi or on drinks with water, with sugar. How pungent. When observing the mind in both perceptions, emptiness is the one taste. Again, he's re-elaborating the theme. Smell something aromatic like sandalwood incense, and look at the mind that thinks, how pleasing. Then smell something repugnant like asafoetida or wild garlic, and look at the mind that thinks, how foul. When observing the mind, emptiness is the one taste in both perceptions. And you can see already we project like and dislike, because for some people, for me, garlic is a great smell. And one of my daughters doesn't like the smell of incense. She thinks it's musty. So we start with, these likes and dislikes are part of our projection of the world. It's actually our creating of our world. And then we look at the projections, we look at the reactions, and we see that they arise in space, they dissolve in space. And we see them without touching them, not without touching them, without grabbing them, without stirring them. They don't have an effect on us. They don't take a hold on us and take us along, wherever us is, which is space. The one taste is space. Smell, we went to that. Listen to the sound of a bell or flute and observe the mind that thinks, how lyrical. Listen to the sound of stones grating or hands clapping and look at the mind that thinks, what cacophony. When observing the mind, emptiness is the one taste in both perceptions. Again, it's repeating the theme, kind of driving it home like any good teacher does. But it's also giving us hints. This is the fifth instruction. Giving us hints. You can actually sit on your cushion and think of something that makes you angry, and then look at the sensation, at the emotion, or sit there and think of something that provides you pleasure or creates desire, and then drop back and just look at the rising. So that can be done. It's a way to look at the rising and falling. One taste. Imagine that you are reborn as a world emperor ruling the lands of the four continents. Because that comes from Buddhist cosmology, the four continents, north, south, east, west. That you are surrounded by an entourage of queens and ministers in a palace constructed out of the 5 types of precious substances: gold, silver, turquoise, coral, and pearl. Where you are eating a feast of 100 tastes. When such a vision arises in your mind, watch the mind that thinks, "How delightful." Then imagine yourself a beggar without even a single companion, with nowhere to lay your head up but a cowshed, where rain drips in from above and moisture seeps in from down below. I mean, pretty annoying, huh? Your body afflicted by many diseases, your hands and feet rotting off from leprosy, tormented by so many troubles that truly you know the meaning of suffering. When such a vision arises in your mind, watch the mind that thinks, "Oh, the pain of serving the mind, both in happiness and sadness. Emptiness is the one taste." So folks, in a way, this is to say enlightenment is not going to necessarily improve your external situation. Now, if you do a lot of practice and you practice loving kindness and you're compassionate and you're generous, the short-term karma probably will catch up to you, and you will do well materially too. But I'll give you an example. Just last night, I have some health problems and I was in some pain, and there it was. I couldn't sleep, so I watched. I allowed myself to just let the risings come. The risings come, and after whatever period, it changes. But pain, pleasure, one taste. So, allowing a space around the painful things, around the annoying things, actually, without reacting, looking at it's the one taste of emptiness, the one taste of space. So what changes is that we're happy regardless of the conditions. And sometimes they're painful conditions, but we learn to be here now with what is. Somebody said, if it's happening, it must be right, it must be perfect. And that's a nice ideology. You can keep that as an intellectual belief, but allow it to drop into your attitude. It'll help you in your meditation. Assimilate it into your life. Don't make it just some nice little philosophy. If I'm being tortured, it must be okay because it's happening now. I mean, come on, give me a break. Let's see. After you have realized the emptiness of the 6 sense fields in this way, and that's smell, taste, touch, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. So mind is the 6th sense. Eye is visual, ear is hearing, nose is smelling, body is eye, ear, nose, tongue is taste, and body is touch. And then mind, which is, the eye of mind sees thought. So it's the 6th sense. Let's see. You don't need to examine these from any of these fields as in this introduction. Every perception is without foundation, released from the beginning and empty, and refraining from pursuing any of them at the moment of their inception. Relax into your own space, into the nature of your mind. Undoubtedly, every sense impression is spontaneously released. So we get even to sense impressions. Like Milarepa once said, I think maybe it was Naropa telling Milarepa, but it is not the world or the things of the world that cause you trouble. It's your grasping of the things of the world that cause you trouble. So you can let the world, come, go, flow through the here and now, to the now, flow. Not even now in terms of a concept now, but just flow in the timeless scenario of the mind, flow. And that's the sense impressions. That's your material, the so-called material world, which also filters through the mind. Such is my introduction, initiating recognition of the spontaneous release of the 6 sense fields. All right, folks, here, again, 6 sense fields has been tied in with the reaction, passion, aggression, and ignorance, so there's a little more of that. We can look at the six khandhas. You know, we got